Wendy here with Jazzydoodledesigns, and today we're going to do another color along in Meine Reise, durch, Afrika. And I thought we would do this little map page, and I'm going to be using some distress oxides in tumble glass, vintage photo, and antique linen. And then after that I will use probably Prismacolor pencils. I don't know, I might use Polychromos. We'll see. You'll know because it'll be in the thumbnail. But at this point, I don't know. We'll see what it looks like once I get the distress oxide. But what I'm thinking is basing it all, because once you lay down your base layers, then it's a lot easier to add your details and you don't have to worry about a lot of times when you have a lot of little things like this, if you're doing it all with pencils, it's really easy to leave little open spaces. And I find that I like using a base layer to put my initial color wash down. So I'm going to go with kind of this antique linen here. And on the edges here, I'm going to blend with the vintage photo. And then here on the outside, I'll have the distressed oxide, and then out here I'll probably do the antique linen like the inside. So that's kind of my thoughts, and then adding pops of color in muted tones for all of the individual little things. Okay, before we get started on today's color along, I thought I would share with you my progress sheet that I made for this book. It just has a picture of the cover, and then there's 90 pages in here to color. So I'm going to tell you how I numbered them. So there's two ways you can use this progress chart. You can color a page and then just simply cross off. For example, we've already done 2. This will be our 3rd one. I could just put X's into those. The other way that you can do it is I have numbered my pages. So I started with this page, and this is 1. Anything that has coloring, I deemed a page. So this page does not have a page number. So this is 2. No page here. This is 3. And then it goes all the way just normal until we get here to the back. And this is page 89. Now, I did not count the 2 test pages or the advertisement pages, but I did count this page. So I say that we have 90 pages to color. So the ones that I've colored, I don't want to show you that one. So for example, this was the first page we did. This was page 10. And you can just cross off page 10. That's how I plan on using mine. I am going to cross off the pages as I color them. The reason I'm doing that is a couple of fold. One, when you're looking for something on my channel in the color along, because 90 is a lot of color alongs in a playlist, you can enter in page 10 and page 10 will come up. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, once we get 90 of them in there. But I want you to be able to find what you're looking for if you're looking for a particular page. So I wanted you to know, one, how I numbered them. Also, as we go along, I may ask you, do you want me to color page 21 or do you want me to color page 55? And we can all be on the same sheet of music and know what those are. Because I may post that in the community page. But I wanted you to have this. This is available on my Ko-fi shop. and the link will be in the description box. It always is on every video, but I'll bring it up to the top so that you can find it. And this is just called Meine Reise, durch Afrika progress chart. And when you print it, you can print it as an 8x10. It'll be slightly smaller than an 8x10. Or you can print like I did. I printed it as a 5x7. My thought is I'm probably going to keep this right here in this book. Like maybe here or on the back cover. Or maybe here, so that I can keep track of my progress. So I'm going to be gluing this down probably to the back, but anyway, it will be there so that I always know where I'm at in the progress. So on with the color along. Okay, so let's get started. We are going to now, if you put your distress oxide like boop right there on the paper, it is going to leave like a circle there. So what I like to do is ideally I like to work off of a paper. So we can take a piece of scrap paper and use this as our starter, and you just start off the paper. See, that way you get a smooth line. You got to be careful you don't leave a mark there, but I am just going to try and put a little bit of color all over our map. Now, the other thing you can do is you swirl before you start and then just fairly lightly go down. What you don't want to do is get your color and go, because do you see how it leaves like a circle? So if you start above it and you're swirling, and then you just very lightly go in and then start to add a little bit of pressure. See how much smoother those look? So that's kind of a little tip I've learned over the years with stamping with these, is just starting and just ever so lightly going in. Now I want this color to go all the way to the edge, because I want to blend my vintage into it. It doesn't matter if I don't go all the way. Now see, there I got a little impatient. Imagine that. You guys are shocked, right? Did your jaw just fall open that Wendy got impatient? I bet it did. Now I'm going to go in with my vintage photo, and I have one here for light, and then I have another one for my brown, and I have another one for my blue. You don't have to have more than one. I'll show you in a minute how you can work around that. Now this is a darker color, so I need to be even more careful. But I'm going to lay that color in. If you don't feel comfortable working with these bigger ones, you can use things like these little daubers. I brought them out because I'll probably be using them as well. Now there isn't an exact amount that I need here. I just want a little shading on the edges. I'm going to do some more shading with my colored pencil. So like up into this little peninsula there, or whatever it is. I don't have to worry that I'm missing it, because I'm going to be adding colored pencil. If you hear a little music in the background, the hubster's is home, and he's got his music on, and his office or play area is directly below mine. So he got a rare day off. Now I can go in with my antique linen and just blend those two together. Anywhere I feel like I don't have a good blend. I want it a little lighter in the middle, so up here you can get these kind of brushes too, these smaller ones. And you just, once again, be a little careful because you'll leave little dots, and you can watch. That's really hard to blend out. See how you can still see it? So you just do your circles. But just know that this is going to be a little bit, because it's smaller, your likelihood of doing that is greater. So you may want to start off your paper, and I still have colors, see? But not as much. So start off on a scrap piece of paper and then go in. And that'll give you a little bit more control as well. All these things are fixable, but if we can prevent them, all the better, right? So the key is to go in with the light hand and then apply the pressure. I don't know if that's a surfboard or the little peninsula. Yeah, see, I think that's that. So I'm going to make that a little brown. Okay, now, since I only have one of these, since I can't find the others, and be careful, this is not erasable stuff. Take a roll of paper towels, and you just brush off. See how now I don't have any coming off? Now I can use another color. Let's see. I don't know if this will erase or not. Yeah, so be careful. I didn't think it would erase, but it never hurts to try. So just be really careful you don't have it on your hands and get smudgies. So, okay. But now what I wanted to do here is I want to add my blue like to these areas here with our small brush. Now see, I have some outside of the lines here. That's why I love pan pastels, because they're so forgiving. You get that there, you can just erase. But I can fix this with my colored pencils, so I'm not too worried. Same with going over that little piece of the pineapple fronds or leaves or whatever you call them, right? Now it's a lot slower to go with this little guy, so I only want to do that where I have to. So going over that a second coat kind of brightens that up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to speed this up a little bit, probably to 2 times speed, and let you apply the blue, and then I'll be back. Okay guys, so you're probably looking at this and saying, wow, what a hot mess. But that's just the base layer. So I did decide to use Polychromos pencils. I really like Polychromos on this paper. And I had used it on our packing up page. So I kind of knew what I was going for with that map. Now, in this case, I am using that really dark sepia along the edge there to add a little bit of shadowing and just a little bit of depth to this map. So I'm not pressing super hard. I'm just going in and putting I'm just putting in a little layer there. And then with this burnt umber, I am kind of shading it out. So I'm putting the darkest just right on the very edge and then using that burnt umber as the main color. Now, as I move in towards the map, I get a little bit lighter and lighter because I want this to blend into that vintage photo of the distressed ink. Distressed oxide. I often use those two interchangeably, and I shouldn't. In my mind, I know what it is, so I assume everybody else is picking up what I put down. But gosh, you definitely don't want to take a ride into my brain, that's for sure. But basically I'm going to do the same thing all the way around the edges for this. Now this is a pretty straightforward page, so I don't know how much I'm going to be truly narrating, because how much more can you say other than lay down the color, blend it into the map? But I will try and pop in here and there if I feel like I have something to contribute. As always, I'll put the little talking head girl up when I'm talking so that if you don't like the music I've picked, then you can mute it and just watch for the little face icon to pop up. You should see her right now. Okay, I'm back. Did you miss me? We're almost done here with the shading. Now next up, I am going to... All right, Wendy, don't make me look bad. Okay, I guess we had a little bit more to do. But basically, just shade everything and blend it in as much as you want. Now I'm going to go in and add other things, and then I may adjust these edges again. So don't feel like it all has to be done at once. Okay, I got my Vegas dealing done. Now, taking that burnt sienna, I'm going to go in and just add a little bit to some of the houses, and I don't know, just there really isn't a set way that you have to do this. I just picked a few colors that I liked on the map, and I used them to add color to certain features. Now, I'm not maybe a systematic colorer, meaning that some people are really good about being able to go in and put in all the burnt sienna that they want all in one fell swoop. I don't. I put some burnt sienna in some things. Then you're going to see I'm going to move on to another color and put some of that in. And then maybe a third color. But then I might go back and get some more of that burnt sienna to balance out things. Or maybe I see something that I missed. I know, shocking. But sometimes it's a choice to miss those, because if you go in and you add all of your burnt sienna and then you add some green and you realize you don't have enough green, that makes it a little more difficult. Or vice versa. I mean, maybe green's a bad example because we're going to use it on, non-structure things. But you get my point. So now with the burnt ochre, I'm adding the roofs to these little huts and buildings. But you see those bottom buildings. That bottom building I haven't colored. That little tower thing I haven't colored. I'm trying to decide, do I want my camel this color? Do I want the entire camel this color? So those are some of the decisions that I'm making as I go along, but you're going to see that I choose to leave some things uncolored that I might later go back to those colors and add. Now you're probably wondering why I'm fighting those pencils left and right. I don't know, because I'm too lazy to move them, I guess. I don't recall being struggling with them like it looks like I am right now. So, I don't know. Now, the one thing I will say, while you're watching any color along, is I record most of my color alongs in 2x speed. It makes for a shorter video. It's easier to upload. It's easier for me to talk over it, do a voice over it. Because when you do the long ones, there's a lot of lag time between each little segment. And so then I have to fill it with something, usually music or whatever. Whereas if I just voice over when it's faster, it works a little better. But what I'll tell you is that the danger of watching color alongs that are sped up is you get a distorted sense of how long things really take. So if this segment that you just watched is, say, 10 minutes, in real time it's going to be 20 minutes. So I would encourage you, especially if you're actually coloring along, to watch the color along, listen to what I say, whether it's in parts or the entire thing. And then while you're coloring along, feel free to mute it and put it at half speed on your playback so that you're actually watching it in real time. So here I've added a third color. Now if you notice, all of the colors that I've chosen are very desaturated colors. They're very muted. I didn't pick cherry red. I didn't pick candy apple green. Or, they're ochres and they're Indian red, because that way they kind of blend into the map, and yet each has enough color to make each individual item kind of stand out, but not be the star of the show. Because I want the map as a whole to be the star of the show, not the camel on the map or the elephant on the map. I want all of those things to be subtle. So I think I only use one more color. I think I use gray for the elephant. I might use a little more bright yellow. I can't remember. But these are generally the colors that I'm going to use throughout the entire page. So what looked really dingy when I started with my map, remember I said it looked like a hot mess kind of? You'll find that once you add your pencils and stuff, your backgrounds look a lot better. This is one of the reasons why I like doing backgrounds first, is because when you do your background first, you can adjust your colors and everything comes together. If you do your entire page and then decide to put a color on, that color may or may not be cohesive with your page. Depends on how good you are at colors. Now here what I'm doing, I just want to talk about this briefly, is I'm going in with a much darker blue, and I'm going all around the edges here. And this is kind of deepening up and making that map stand out. Look at the top versus the bottom. It's subtle, but it really adds some dimensionality. Is that a word? Did I make it up? Dimensional. It makes it look more dimensional. But, and I'm going to deepen that up even more, I believe. But I'm not taking that blue out very far, and I'm not pushing down. I'm not burnishing in. I'm just adding a very light layer. You can look, you can hardly tell, where I stop, and yet it makes a big difference on the page. Look how far back I'm holding that pencil, because I really want this layer to be subtle and smooth. I want the blue to be a nice blend. But I really think it adds a lot. And if you notice, I haven't colored everything in the map. Now, you might not like to color that way. Not everyone does. Some people are very, like, they have to be methodical about it. I feel like the way I do it allows me to make choices along the way that if I fill them all in, I no longer have any more choices. Once I have the blue on the page, once I've colored maybe the boats and the fish and different things like that, maybe, in fact, I know that I color the fish orange. And so I'm bringing that color in, and I may want to add a little orange in my map. But if I've already filled up everything in my map with the other colors, I don't have any room to make those choices. And I guess I'm not really, I feel like I'm good at colors, but at the same time, I'm not real good at the, mapping out every square inch in my head. Sometimes I see it on the map. Sometimes I think a color would look really good, or I might add it. And then as I'm going along, I'm like, no, I don't think that would work very well. You got to give yourself permission to change your mind, in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some color artists out there that they do one color and they do everything on the page that's going to be colored that. And I can understand as you're coloring along with that artist, that's much easier. I think the only way I could be efficient doing it that way is if I colored the entire page and then recreated the entire page for you. If I did that, I would have half as many pages as I color. Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes I do test things out on paper before I put them, in a color along. I'll test a color combination, or, I don't know, like for example with the distress ink, I've been using, or distress oxide, Wendy, get it together. I have been using those for a really long time, so I kind of know what goes together. If you didn't have those colors, you could, scattered straw would work. It would just have a warmer tone. I'm not looking at my color sheet, but there are other options. Use what you have. You could use gathered twigs on the side. You could use walnut brown. There's a lot of different ones. They'll give you a slightly different look. Did I go off on a tangent? Yeah, I think I did. Are you? Sorry. You know, basically, I'm just trying to smooth out all of this water, blend it all together, and then I am going to deepen it up on the edges again. So I'm going to leave you to it for a minute, and I'll be back. Okay, so we're back to the map, and I'm adding in the gray for the elephant. So once again, I picked a warm gray. Because I do want it to just be kind of subtle. Now here I wanted the lemur, is that what they're called? To be more of a cooler gray because he's kind of up by himself there. That was just me touching up there was a little piece of ocean popping in there. Now, even though those little spaces have white, I am adding a little bit of this gray tone because it is quite a bit lighter than the black. And I had just missed, using that turquoise, I believe that's cobalt turquoise, to add the kind of the ocean color. That's one of the nice things about the pan pastels. You can really kind of go over everything so you don't miss any of those little spots, and then you just erase. And it is so nice. But I realize that not everybody has pan pastels, so I do try and use a variety of different mediums so that everyone can play. Now here I'm just going in and kind of deepening some shadows in certain areas, like in the doorways and at the base of things like that. And just continuing to fill out like, oh, I don't have a roof on that. Maybe I should pick a color for that. And that kind of stuff. And really, there is no right or wrong place to add these colors. If you wanted a darker camel or a redder camel and a lighter building, all of that would be just fine. But once again, now I'm using the darker sepia just to add some depth to some of these structures, right? One of the best things you can do to improve your picture, no matter how you've colored it, is to add contrast and value. The better your value contrast, the more interesting your picture generally. Oftentimes, people that are unhappy with their work, it's because it's all kind of the same. Kind of like the blue in the water right now. It's all pretty the same. So we're going to remedy that. But I usually start with a base layer. So I'm going to start applying some of the red to the airplane and things like that. And I'm looking in my map to see what I haven't colored, where I want to add a few blue elements to tie the map to the water. So I apologize for the music on this one, but there really isn't a whole lot to say. This is all pretty straightforward music, or not music. It's all pretty straightforward coloring. Now I will say in areas where maybe I've went over, like that bird, it had some, I had went over it with the distress ink, and the same with our little elephant. You don't get those bright pops of color because we've got those kind of dirtier colors underneath it, muddying it up a little bit, which I don't mind because I'm really not wanting a bright bluebird popping off the page or the water or whatever. So just kind of keep that in mind though when you color. Okay, I'm back. And not to sound like a broken record, but once again, I'm looking around at my page and trying to balance things out. What color do I have a lot of? What color do I not have a lot of? Where do I need the balance? So if you notice, I want to tie the map to this compass, so I pull in that brown ochre. But then I want to add a little bit of the green to it. Right? And kind of pull it into the page. And then I'm going to go in with my darker color, that burnt sienna, kind of that redder tone. We want to add some of that into this. So I'm basically adding all the colors of the page into this one element because this is kind of a mini focal point, so to speak. Now, I could have colored it all black, right? But then it's a very jarring difference. Okay, so here I'm going to take this brown ochre and I'm just going to draw real, shade in the edges of the map, so to speak, right? The page. Now, a lot of why I'm holding the pencil this way is simply because of the angle when I'm filming. If I were you, I would flip my book upside down and I would color it like a normal person. I just find that most people prefer that I don't flip the book, and sometimes I have to, but in this case, I just didn't want you thinking that there was some special secret reason for why I was doing what I did. It was just simply convenience for filming. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to go around the paper. Then I'm going to go and do the graph paper in a lighter color, and then just kind of keep filling in some of the little details. So I'll pop back in a bit. Okay, so remember I said that we were going to go around this and darken it up a little bit. So this is where I'm using the indigo blue. Now you got to be gentle here. You don't want to bear down and add a ton of indigo blue here. You just really want to add a little bit of shadowing almost, because this is a significantly darker color than the other blues that we've used. So use a very light hand and don't go very far out into the water, unless that's the look you're going for. But as I go out into the water, I'm really using a light pressure. But you just want to go all the way around. Especially see the darker lines that the artist gave us there? That indicates shadow. So I want to add a little more blue. Now I want to go completely over what I just colored with this ultramarine light, or light ultramarine, because that indigo has a lot of gray to it, and by going over it again with this blue, it kind of lightens it up. You still get the value of it, meaning how dark it is, but the overall look of it is more the kind of blue that we're looking for, which is a brighter blue. A blue as opposed to a gray. Man, I fought those pencils to the right there the whole time. You would think I have a little pencil holder right there to the right. You'd think I would stick them in there. But no, no. We can't be too lazy. There's no such thing as too lazy. I call it being efficient. I don't care who you are. So once again, just kind of blending and smoothing here. Light hand. And you can do this as little or as long as you want. It just depends on how smooth you were before and how dark you want it to get. If you notice, it is getting a little darker than what we had. But I kind of like that. To me, it makes the map kind of pop off the page, because now we have the really light on the edges. So that's the balance that you want to do. But it's really what look you like. Here I really like the lighter, and so I use that white right there just to blend that a little bit. Now here I'm using a darker gray just to add a little more shadow and pop to my elephant. Apologize for the phone. But we just want to add just a little bit of dimension and a little more color to it, because I'm nearing the final stages in terms of colored pencil work before I move on into the markers, and I just want to make sure that I've added, my color values are what I want them to be. So again, just adding a little darker values here and there, like on the whale. tails on our birds, things like that. So just look around and see where you think it would benefit. But look at the difference between this whale before and after. Just that little bit of dark indigo just really makes this whale come alive. In my opinion, of course. Same with the one up above. And then I just want to blend it just a little bit. Now here I'm going in with just, it's a Recollections pen, which is, it could be any sort of black ink pen. This is like a Micron or a Copic fine liner type of thing. But I just want to add a little bit of black to the blacks, whether it be the eyes or the little penguin arms, because as you go over certain things with your colored pencils, they will kind of gray out a little bit. Now, I will tell you, you're going to see me scribble off on the side there where I've taped off my page. You'll probably see me scrawl all over that, because as you do this, you will get a little bit of wax on your pen, and then you got to kind of scribble that off. And it can be very tedious. Now, if I need to get like a Posca Ultraliner, you know, something with a very fine point, but I don't have one. I just have a bigger black Posca, and I wanted something a little smaller for these little tiny areas. I am not that good. But you can see that that black really adds a lot of dimension to your page. Now you need to be careful, because black can really overpower a page. So if you're using a bigger pen, be cautious. A lot of times I don't use black per se. You can use like a really dark gray. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with my white Posca pen, and I'm just going to go all over the lines around the clouds, the little wispies that they have, the little bubbles, the waves, all of that. Now this is a very specialized look, and I do feel like you just have to be consistent if you want it. So like I wouldn't white out the black here on the clouds and then not do the water. Now that's just my personal opinion, but I like the look of it if it's all or nothing, right? So either keep it all with the black lines or go over all the black lines with the white. So I'm going to leave you to it, and I'll catch you in a minute. Okay, so here I go in with my black fine liner, and I'm just going over all the little dots. I'm going to go over the penguin arms, just anything where I feel like it needs touched up. I'll also go through some of the darker tones, like I'm going to add a darker green and a little darker red, just to add a little bit of shadowing or shading to certain things. So that's what I'm doing here. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing. I'd love to have you, and we're going to be completing every page in this lovely book. So hit the like on your way out, and until the next time, take care. Thank you for watching another video from Jazzydoodledesigns. If you enjoy adult coloring content, please consider subscribing. You can now find me on Instagram and Facebook as well. I welcome all comments and suggestions. Don't forget to like the video before you go. And until next time, take care.